Aloha friends and neighbors, Rollin here, Kona astrologer, and I'm going to do some work for you. We're going to go through the sky mirror the next 10 days. That's the first job. Then I got some other interesting things to share with you. This is program 975, and we're going to cover that second week of August 2015. When we get there, there is a new moon, August 14th. Yes, it's at 21 degrees of Leo, and it trines Uranus. And protesters reorganize. It's a big thing. We had a whole month from the middle of February. That new moon squared Uranus and trined Saturn. So we've had a month of Saturn. I'm still stuck in it back here. I'm back on February 20th, and I'm already hating it. Everybody, Saturn overorganizes the judge, the managers, the CEOs, the rules, the regulations, the lines, the signs. Enough. And right away all these guys jumped in and said, we're going to make a law and keep the protesters off the road. Well, I'm totally in harmony with that protest, and as far as I can see, any of you involved in it, you've got to have a new revival after August 14th, new moon, because it trines Uranus. For the rest of us, we're going to have more of the sudden insights. It's a revival of the Woodstock. Yeah, it's very nice. And there's more enlightenment going on again. It won't be so much aha as Jupiter is moved off the trine a little bit, but there's stuff about love and getting stuff done and brotherhood, and this is another month of enlightenment from Uranus and Jupiter and Venus. So I love the first one, mid-January to mid-February. Wow. Okay, here's a picture of the sky, and you can see the sun is over here in Leo, and it's going from 15 to 24 degrees, which means at 20, which is about 6-7 days from you, 1 week from you, it will be exactly trining Uranus over here at 20 degrees of Aries, and the sparks of enlightenment will flow. Oh boy. As your week begins, Mars here in Cancer is trining Saturn, so all the old goats and the judges and the bosses, they think they're going to have their way. They're being aggressive and getting away with it briefly. But you can see here's Mercury. He's at 29 degrees of Leo, squaring Saturn. You might have some mentality depression, the part that makes words, and kids are in trouble. And Saturn, he's not communicating. No. Here's Jupiter at 29 Leo, squaring Saturn at 28 Scorpio. These are the business planets, Saturn and Jupiter. And when they're in square, nothing gets done. Not in Congress. There's Jupiter, liberals, and Saturn, conservatives, or in business, or your own world. It's tough to get things done. Here's Venus. She's at 27 Leo, squaring Saturn. Not much fun, no sweets. Love, sex is turning sour, So there's an awful lot of stuff going on here at 27, 28 degrees as you start your week. And don't get discouraged, okay? I know, because up ahead of you on the 14th, we've got this lovely new moon. So Saturn is, the laws, the rules. Gee, did they muck up the marijuana dispensary? I can't believe what they did. And they're doing other things. Every place I look, I see people, trying to do Saturn and trying to get organized, trying to be a manager, and they're totally messing it up. And it's overdone, and they're stuck in it, and they, it's not the time for that. But they'll do it. They'll do it anyway. Let's look at the thing day by day, okay? We got every planet down here where they are, and we're going to run the moon around the edge of the planetary pattern. And these planets are really just the actors on the stage, huh? And the moon is kind of like what you're thinking, what your internal movie is doing. the one we all share together. So as the moon goes through Friday and Saturday and Sunday, it makes angles to these things, these planetary actors on stage, and it generates the mood of the times, which on Friday, August 7th, is not so hot. Woo. Gee, remember the 24th of last month? That was nice, sweet Venus. But here's Venus, and she's upset, and she's caught with the judge, and she was protesting something, and she got, I don't know, man, this is not good. Mars is here. Mars is in sextile and trying to help on Friday. All this is happening in the middle of Friday and into the afternoon. Venus and Saturn and Jupiter are all within a couple of hours here, so this is not going to be a comfortable day. No, it's not. And if you wanted to go do some repair work, do something physical, you can get away with it. But your planning is lousy. There's no fun in this. And Venus, watch out. The judge is there. They still got more room in the jails, or do they? So Friday stinks. It's the moon in late Taurus, and I'm sure I'm not going to like this. This is my rising sign right here. So, batten down the hatches for Friday. Not much fun there. Saturday, the moon's in Gemini, a mutable air sign, and you're going to feel a square from Neptune, confusion, delusion between breakfast and lunch, and problems with liquids. So Saturday's not so easy either. Sunday gets better right away. Here you are about midnight, you've got the sextile to the sun, and then at breakfast we got the sextile to Uranus, and brotherhood is flowing, and new ideas, and common sense, and your mentality is working good, and everything changed, didn't it? As you go into Sunday, and you're in late Gemini, there's a nice sextile to Venus. There's pleasure and fun. Go out on that date Sunday night. That's when Venus is in harmony. And Jupiter there about midnight. So there's lightning bolts of truth flying around during Sunday. You could learn a lot. This is your enlightenment day. Of course, it's a little early. We haven't really started until that new moon, which happens up ahead here on the 14th. So here's a little taste of it. That's all. Monday, the moon goes into Capricorn, and you're still feeling pretty good because there was a Mercury sextile. Everybody's speaking wisdom here Sunday night, Monday morning. It feels great. There's a trine to Neptune. The moon in Cancer trines Neptune in Pisces here after dinner Monday. So there's a good time for movies and art and prayer and things like that. Pisces stuff. Don't go to sleep too easy, though, because here we got that Pluto-Uranus square, and that guy, it'll wake you up early Tuesday morning as the moon opposes Pluto. Eek, a bug! A little panicky, huh? And the moon's going to square Uranus Tuesday afternoon, and that's where that new moon was at 23 Cancer that squared Uranus. You've had a month of earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes and sudden power outages, haven't you? High wind. It's wind problems, that started the middle of February, goes through the middle of March because of this new moon here. And Uranus is not happy. And your Tuesday is chaotic and goes into the evening, and it gets a little lunatic-like, a little exaggerated emotion due to the moon going by that lunation point. Wednesday, well, it's not too much better, but it feels like you're getting organized anyway around breakfast time here because the moon is in late Cancer and it trines Saturn, and we're getting organized, aren't we? It goes by the Mars, and you feel kind of aggressive here Wednesday morning, in the middle of Wednesday, the 12th of August. So there's the Mars zone, and it trines Saturn, and the military will take care of it and solve it all. Well, you might feel that way on Saturday on Wednesday until you get to late Wednesday night. Here's 11, 12 o'clock, and you hit the old full moon point that, is in Aquarius. So there's a little excess emotion here also Wednesday night. Go to bed early. Thursday, the moon's in fixed fire in Leo. Not too bad. You're going into that conjunction with the sun, trining Uranus, the new moon. And by the time you get... The new moon's actually here late Thursday night, early Friday morning. Really early. So, this is a good time to do some planning. Get together with the people important to you and create a little brotherhood. Make a plan, because this new moon, that plan's good for a month. And Uranus is your helper. And so whatever you get, especially electronics, revolutionary stuff, reorganize the protesters. That when the first thing they always do, is protest against protesters, to say, you're trespassing. And so back in Berkeley in the Woodstock days, what we did is say, yep, we're actually protesting this, and we would just sit down. They call it Occupy now. And if I were the protesters, and if I wasn't so old and had a vehicle, I might try. And that is, just sit down and make, it takes several policemen to pick you up and put you in the van and take you to jail. And it occupies a lot of police and a lot of vans, and how much jail they got. I mean, we would occupy half the campus at Berkeley at times, and just do sit-ins, and it's peaceful. It's a protest, and if you get really strong about it, everybody who's sitting down, locks arms at the elbows, and then it gets really hard to pick you up. And the video cameras are there, so they can't beat you with clubs. Anyway, that's a good protest tactic. And I hope we'll see a lot of it breaking out here after this nice new moon. So it's a new month following the 14th. A lot of ideas are going to come up Thursday night, Friday morning. Friday, you're in the Venus zone right here. And there's going to be some sweets and some pleasure and some fun in all of this. And you could have rewards for being a rebel and a protester and standing up with common sense to these Saturn politicians. Don't be discouraged. We stopped the stupid ferry. We stopped the incinerator in Hilo. And enough people get together, even if you just sit down and lock arms at the elbow, what are they going to do? So there's a lot of power here. And you'll realize by the time you get to Friday night, the moon hits Jupiter, and boy, there's a lot of wisdom here. Suddenly we understood. But there's a square to Saturn. Damn. The lawyers, common sense tells us to go ahead in the brotherhood and we're in the right and things, but there's Saturn, and they put up a fence and they said it's their property. There's limits, there's signs, and there's lines, and Saturn. So, laugh it off. Jupiter likes to clown around. Laugh. Sit down. Lock elbows. Do I get in trouble for recommending things like that? Maybe. Saturday, the moon goes into immutable Earth. It's Virgo. And you've had quite a Friday night. Saturday morning, you should be feeling pretty good. The moon's hitting Mercury here up ahead on Saturday night. But there's an opposition to Neptune. So, this is not a good time for alcohol and for dreaminess. Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, not a good time for alcohol. Or music, or art, or all that stuff. There is discovery. The discovery happens late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, when the moon in Virgo trines Pluto here in Capricorn at 13 degrees. So just get through the confusion of Saturday night, and if you wake up without a hangover, you probably have some lovely new discoveries Sunday morning. Anyway, we're back in a month of power to the people, and that's what this is all about. Especially now that I've had a week of this Saturn crap where, you know, that new moon trine Saturn mid-February. And when you see what Saturn does, what managers and CEOs and the gross stupidity of these folks who think they can make lines and signs and make money at the expense of people. That's what Saturn does. That's the banker. Yeah. Banker. Yeah, guys in blue suit, guys in black suits with ties. I can't believe all the lawyers and the judges and all these guys came out of the woodwork here right away. As soon as that lousy mid-February moon went off, suddenly it's all about judges and lawyers, and, you know, you think that they have the power to say what goes on with the protest up there on our mountain. It's our mountain. Did you know that, guys? It doesn't belong to UH. It doesn't belong to the state. It belongs to the people. Yes. Why don't you listen? Well, here's something different. So last week or so, I was talking about get the app for your iPhone, SkyMirrorAstrology.com, so you can starting things, starting charts or the whole thing. And for some reason I got off on Regan's astrologer. I think her name was Joan Quigley, who did charts for the plane. The plane would sit there on the runway and wait until the time was right, and then Nancy would say, okay, astrologer said this time, the plane would taxi on down and take off. So I was critical of Joan Quigley, and I'm taking that back. One of the reasons I am is because I got involved with this whole thing in a rather interesting way. Here it is. This is a newspaper thing from the Sun Press back in 1981. And I'm going to tell you this story. I think it's useful. The reporter came to me. It was beginning of February on the 2nd. Wanted to know about astrology. So I was telling this reporter all about it, and then she said, well, do you have any famous people we can talk about? I said, no, I wouldn't do that and get into their private life. And but wait a minute, I just did a lecture on Ronald Reagan. So we could talk about his chart. He's a very public person. So I get out his chart, and I'm looking at the thing, and then I realize there's a full solar eclipse, and it's right on Regan's sun on the day that we're talking, February 2nd. And I said, my God, look at that. She said, what's that? I said, well, it's an eclipse right on the sun. This could mean death or insanity, the old guys, the old astrologers would say. It's a terrible thing. You know, he's going to take a hit. I said, I went on and on about April was a really tough time. And I said, Regan. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not a Reagan fan. In fact, he's the worst president. He's the guy that started a drug war. He's the guy that stopped the Russians. We could have got rid of all the nukes on the planet. But Ronald Reagan decided, oh no, we can outspend the Russians, and SDI will make space weapons that can knock them down. And Gorbachev said, what the hell are you doing? Reagan went ahead anyway, so he stopped us from disarming the world of nukes. He started a drug war. He's he's an actor, and I really disliked Reagan. Now, I had a chance to be Reagan's astrologer. How'd that happen? Well, Reagan's had a ranch. Nancy and Ron would go horseback riding out on their ranch. Next door to them was a lady with a ranch who was my client. And she said, I see Nancy and Ronald out there all the time. We go horseback riding together, and Nancy's into astrology. What would you like to do some chart work for him? And I thought about it, and I said, wait a minute. You know, this looks like danger to me. And so I declined. And then along came this newspaper reporter and kind of caught me off guard. And I blurted out all this stuff. And I said, gee, February 4th eclipse. It's dangerous indeed, really terrible. Last up to 6 months. If he survives it, you know, he'll have to take time off from the presidency if he survives it. And I came out here, frost predicts doom. And this lady sometimes got a little dramatic, but he's going to have a big battle in April. Well, that's when all the surgery happened. He got shot March 30th, 1981, and James Brady was killed. John Hinckley was using a little .22, and, well, anyway, he was shot as he stepped out of or into a vehicle outside his hotel. Now, that's the third house, okay? If you were to look and see where his trouble is in the horoscope, you'd find it's in the third house. and what Joan Quigley was doing was she was trying to manage the jet plane takeoffs, which is still in the third house. So she was very close to the problem. I don't know if she didn't know about the eclipse, but she had the location. You know, takeoff of an airplane is very much like getting in a car outside of a hotel. What's the difference? Get in a plane and taxi? Get in a cab and go to the... leave it? No, it's not much difference. And so she was managing something that was dangerous for him, and she was, you know, that plane rolled when she said, and he had safe takeoffs. Evidently, she timed some of the speeches that he did while he was so successful in that, too. But here's a little more truth on this story. After the first part of February, when I accidentally made this, and then this paper came out, it predicts doom, it started bothering me a lot. I was saying to myself, gee, I hope he gets shot or something. Or you know, here I'm wishing ill on somebody so that I could be right because I was in print. So finally I called up my friend Moby Dick, Don Jacobs, a whale of an astrologer who was my buddy and kind of a mentor in a way. And I said, geez, Moby, I think I just accidentally predict the death of the father of the country. What do you got to say? And he says, well, last time I got caught predicting death, a fly flew right in my mouth. Cough, cough, I couldn't get it out. I swallow it, terrible bitter taste. Then he quotes some Bible thing. He who predicts death on someone will have it visited on himself. Shh, damn. Well, this was in February, before Reagan got whacked here the end of March. And a month later, my father died. Yes. Wow, that's a bummer. And then a month after that, Moby Dick died. My father figure in Honolulu. And I lost two fathers after this crummy prediction. And I'm still glad I didn't go to work for Reagan. But he did a lot. He did some serious, serious ills to the world. Just think, there would be no nuclear weapons if he had followed through with what Gorbachev had offered. No drug war. Oh boy. Anyway, that's the story. And I take it back about Joan Quigley. She was doing a fair job, you know. She was in the third house. That's where the speeches and the words are. She was trying to manage Reagan's third house, which is his foot in the mouth problem I talked about, where he had all his troubles. And so anyway, I take it back. She is a decent astrologer. There's all kinds of mismanagement I could give you, including our mayor is in trouble. But this one gets me, dog rescues. Turns out the Humane Society here every year gets 6,000 dogs. They kill 3,000. So a lot of people decided, no, this isn't cool. They fly them over to Oregon, and they'll take them. Along comes management. Donna Whitaker. Years ago, she stopped it. We got to review it and write up our regular... Years ago, I had a show with Michael. It was a kid's show. My son did it, called Adopt a Pet. And we were adopting pets out of that shelter. And along came a new manager. It might have been Donna Whitaker, and said, well, she wants to script all our words, so we just quit. Management messed it up again here. Can't help it, can they? Here's the best astrologer I know in the Western world. the guy who dug into the Mayan stuff, signs of time, just a taste. And something interesting for you maybe. We're talking about cartoons here. These are the 20-year periods. And the books of the Chilam Balam. Where is it? Books of the Chilam Balam. Now these are like priestly writings. And there's not just one, but many priests wrote these books. So they're somewhat different, the delineations for these 20-year periods. However, from 1992 to 2012, Cartoon 4 said, scarcities of corn and squash, settlement of the man. This is a cartoon of remembering and recording knowledge. That's when the internet started, folks, and got going, yeah. The next one, Cartoon 2, which is the one we're in now, from 2012 to 2032, Bruce talked about brings the end of the Word of God. Now he translates it in another place as the end of the time of talking with God. And then he said it's a time of uniting for a cause. Another place, another book of he says it's a time of a new idea unites humanity. So that's the 20-year period we're in. The next one here that starts in 2032 is the worst one. And yeah, this is global warming come home. It's a time of total collapse when everything is lost. It is a time of the judgment of God. There will be epidemics and plagues and then famine. Governments will be lost to foreigners, and wise men and prophets will be lost. So this is the worst of the cartoons. Yes. Of the 13. Anyway, there's a really good astrologer. And, you know, you could look up these books of the Chilam Balam. There's several of them, and look up these cartoons. The numbers are quite clear. We're in Cartoon 2, and we just came out of Cartoon 4. And you can go on the internet and look up Chilam. There's many different books of the Chilam Balam, and you could do some homework and find out for yourself. Saturn got me too. Managers at 2 stations said, you don't put these on at the end of your show, we won't air the show.